Awesome. Welcome everyone to How to Go Solar today on May 25th. I'm Promote Jacob with Solar Oregon, and this event is sponsored by the Energy Trust of Oregon. Just to quickly go over our agenda for today, I want to start off by just explaining the components behind a solar system and how those parts work together to power your home. And then I'll go into how, is your home right for solar? There are certain characteristics that need to be present to get the most out of a solar system. And I'll go into solar incentives and all of the other ways that you can, take the step to be solar to get solar in Oregon and all of those programs available. And to close it off, I'm gonna invite our guest Abe. He is a professor at Clackamas County College, um, and he's a solar owner, and he is going to share his story today for us. A little bit more about Solar Oregon. We are a 40-year-old nonprofit that focuses on education, outreach, community, and advocacy around solar and renewable energy here in Oregon. Most of our programs are how to go solar webinars. We also have solar tours. Coming up later this year in August, we have our solar winery tour, which is taking place in Hood River this year. So if you're interested in that, please follow us on our social media, and we will definitely get the information out about that. It's supposed to be a great time this year. Some really beautiful vineyards that have solar, so it's a great time. Another tour that we do is our Go Zero tour. That's later on in the fall in October. That is a tour of zero energy homes. So if either of those sound interesting to you, please follow us on our social media, and we'll send out registration information as soon as it comes out. And we also help conduct Solarize campaigns. The first Solarize campaign was done here in Portland back in 2009 when a group of neighbors decided to go solar together. And from there, it's been replicated all over the country. And it's a great campaign. And we are super proud to be able to work with the Energy Trust of Oregon and help facilitate these campaigns and provide education to different communities. And lastly, we really believe in the power of peer-to-peer education. The reason I have Abe on today is because I feel like hearing it from a community member and hearing solar from a trusted source makes it seem much more possible. And yeah, it really does travel through social networks. If you'd like to support our work, please visit bit.ly/solar donate. You can become a member or donate to our organization. It's totally optional. And a little bit more about the Energy Trust of Oregon, the sponsor for this event. The Energy Trust is an independent nonprofit that serves the customers of PGE, Pacific Power, Northwest Natural, Cascade, and Vista. They provide access to energy efficiency and affordable energy for homeowners, and they really focus on making the most out of what they can provide. They want to provide the most impact to where clean energy is needed the most in the state. Quick little note about some Zoom features. There's the Q&A button at the bottom. So if at any time you have a question, please feel free to type it in, and we'll definitely get to it at the end. There's also polling. I'm gonna start some polls right now, and these really just help us figure out where we can improve in how we're reaching our community and what we can do to better serve you. So these are totally anonymous, and they're optional, so feel free to fill them out. And I'm going to give people about 30 seconds to fill out each question. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. And here's another question. This one is about demographics. Again, they're completely anonymous. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And we have one last poll question. And this is asking, what type of familiarity do you have with solar already? Have you spoken with an installer? Do you happen to already have it installed? Or, what level of, you know, research have you done into solar yourself? We have a great mix. Some people have solar already. Some people have spoken to installers. Yeah, it's a great mix of familiarity in the audience. And I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. Thank you guys so much for taking part in that. That really helps us tailor our programming. And yeah, we can go ahead and get started. How does solar work? So with this diagram, it shows the basic components of a solar system on a house. So you would start with your panels, your solar panels on the roof, or a ground mount, as we'll see later. So when sunlight hits that panel, it creates electricity, which then goes into the inverter or a microinverter. And this piece of equipment basically translates electricity into a form that is usable in your home. And from there, that electricity in AC form can flow into your home's electrical panel and power all your appliances and all your devices. The other important part of a solar system is the utility meter that you will receive when you install solar. Your utility will give you a new meter that's called a bidirectional meter, and I'll explain more about what that is coming up. And of course, the grid is also a part of the solar system because of the way that you send power to the grid and pull power from the grid on cloudy days. Going back to inverters, the difference between inverters and microinverters. Inverter is a bigger piece of equipment that's usually installed right next to your home's electrical panel. Whereas on the right side, you can see microinverters are installed right up with the panels, and they're smaller pieces of equipment, but they both perform the same function. And going into mounting options, the most common mounting we see, is a roof mount. There's, usually people don't have other things on the roof, so that's generally a cleaner space for it. Another option is a ground mount. The thing to note about a ground mount is that the wiring has to be run from the panel to your home, and that process and trenching out the path for that for the wires does add to the cost of the project. And going into net metering, this is where I wanted to talk more about the bidirectional meter that you would receive. So the device that measures how you gain credit and use credit is the bidirectional meter. So during the summer months when you're producing much more energy than you are consuming, you send a surplus to the grid, and that is reflected on your bill as a net metering credit. And then say in the winter months when there's less sunlight here in Oregon and your house is pulling energy from the grid, you draw from that credit that you built up in the summer. And yeah, the meter helps measure all of that. Is my home right for solar? So there are a few considerations that you would take when looking at, what type of system is right for your home. It is all based on how much electricity you consume and how much energy your household uses. A great place to start would be to have an energy audit done. This would be a really comprehensive look at, where the most energy in your house is going and where inefficiencies are and how you can fix them. Other factors are, available space, available roof space, your overall budget, and the general aesthetics of the project that you wish to accomplish. System sizes are measured in kilowatts, and I think an average system size, it's completely dependent on the house, but 6 kilowatts, give and take, is a standard single family home solar system. I'm going to take a second to look at the chat. It looks like people are saying stuff here, so I'm just going to make sure that we don't have any questions. We just have some links. Okay, cool. Cool. Next. And solar access. So this is another important aspect of your home to consider. Is here in Oregon, the sun is always in the southern sky, so that a roof that faces south receives the total amount of solar resource. There's a term, it's TSRF, total solar resource factor. That is a official measurement of how much sunlight hits your roof, through a given day. And as you can see, east facing roofs and west facing roofs do not mean that you can't have solar. The efficiency and like the amount of sunlight they receive is, it's a little bit less than having a south facing roof, but that doesn't mean you can't have solar on those types of roofs. Your roofing material also comes into consideration when you are deciding to install solar. Um, the two main common types are asphalt shingle and standing seam metal. And with shingle roofs, that those have to be replaced more often. And it's I think timing your roof, replacing your roof, and timing it with solar would be a good idea, because if you end up getting solar on there and then having to replace your roof in a few years, you'd have to pay to get the solar taken off and then the roof to be replaced and then the solar to be reinstalled. Whereas combining those two projects might be a much more economical decision. Also, the energy trust incentives requires that your roof has at least 10 years of life left. So considering your roof health is a really crucial part of whether you're able to go solar or not. And your roof structure is also important, and you need to make sure that the structuring under your roof is strong enough. And this isn't because solar panels are heavy. It's more because of the wind shear that is active. When the panels are up against the house, the wind can get under them and almost like pick them up. So to make sure that nothing's going to be flying off your roof, so your contractor will be doing inspections, and in the event that there needs to be reinforcements or like repairs made, they will take care of all of that and bring things up to code. And moving on to solar incentives. Quickly, just to talk about the price of solar in general. In 2010, the average cost of a single family residential solar system was around $40,000. And as we can see, we are almost under half of that, 10 years later. So a steep decline in prices. So solar is really moving in a direction where it's becoming a much more viable and reliable resource. And going to the incentives that are available here in Oregon, you have your investment tax credit. This is a federal tax credit, so it is a 26% tax credit that you receive from the system when you file your taxes every year, or the year after you install the system, not every year. And then in Oregon, with the Oregon Department of Energy, they have a solar plus storage rebate. The thing to note about the ODO rebate is that it receives funding like cyclically, and each year the amount of funding they receive might be a little bit different. So it's really important to I guess like make sure that the funding is available there. I know for a fact that with these incentives, with the Energy Trust one that I'm also about to talk about, your contractor will take care of those, and the only thing that is on you as the customer is the investment tax credit, and that's on your own taxes. And lastly, the Energy Trust of Oregon also offers incentives. They offer a standard up to 2.8K rebate depending on your utility. It's a little bit different between Pacific Power and PGE, I think, but all of the specifics are going to be on the Energy Trust website. I think that's one of the most helpful tools for a prospective solar owner, is that it contains everything you would need to know and every single action item that you would need to be able to start your journey. So I highly recommend checking out the Energy Trust website. And another Energy Trust website or program, is the Solar Within Reach. This is an income qualifying program that provides up to $9,000 for your home, providing like income qualifying thresholds and stuff like that. But if you're in this position to be able to take advantage of this program, it's a great way to really bridge that gap between solar and your home. Moving on, this is a full disclosure. This is a sample budget. I don't think this is from a real house or a real project. This is just something that we use to kind of visualize what a cost, how the cost will be broken down. So if we start with a $20,000 6 kilowatt residential project, after Energy Trust incentives, as you can see, there's two different columns for a low and moderate income bracket versus just a normal, versus the bracket that doesn't include that. So the energy trust incentives, and then you have your ODO rebate, which, as you can see, the funding is fluctuates. So for the non-income qualifying customers, the ODO rebate was not renewed, but it changes year from year. And then you have your out of pocket cost, and then you have your 26% federal tax credit, and then that would be your final cost to your customer. This doesn't include other types of incentives that exist. One thing that pops into my head is if you're with PGE, they have a smart grid test bed. You should, if you are interested in that, they basically have set up these regions in Hillsborough, Milwaukee, and North Portland that uh, if you're in those areas, they're running special programs for solar and battery storage, and there's different rebates that you can receive through that. Um, and I know that different utilities around Oregon that are not in that energy trust group, so like PUDs and like local utilities, they do things a little bit differently, and they have different incentives and rebates set up on their own for their own customers. But yeah, this most of this applies to the Energy Trust of Oregon utilities. How do you get started? As I was saying earlier, the Energy Trust website I think is a great place to start. Um, on that website, you can get connected to Trade Allies, and Trade Allies are contractors chosen by the Energy Trust of Oregon, and they are rigorously qualified, and they're vetted, and they are trained in being able to apply for all of the energy trust incentives that you would need, and they know what they need to do to be able to get you your incentives. And these trade allies, they're all over the state. On the Energy Trust website, what you can do is request a quote, and you can request a custom analysis, and three different installers will reach out to you to work with you to figure out what a solar system would look like for your house. And once you choose a contractor, from there they take over the process. They complete paperwork, they complete inspections. The actual installation process takes 1 to 2 days, and then they do all the post inspections and make sure everything is up and running and that your home is ready to produce power. And we can move into our solar story. I just want to introduce Abe. Abe lives in Clackamas, and he would like to share his solar story. So, Abe, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can share yours, and feel free to take it away.
Hey guys. So yeah, I guess to start off here. So I'm Abe Foy. I teach a renewable energy and alternative fuel program at Clackamas Community College, which is a 2-year program where people can become technicians, wind turbine technicians, industrial maintenance people work in hydro or geothermal. And so obviously, I want solar on my house. I've been doing renewables for 23 years, and as a teacher, my income has been a limiting factor a lot of times, even though I will have the want. And usually, I have the technical ability to just do it myself also. But generally with the incentives, it's cheaper just to be able to have someone else do it who does it all the time. And it ends up being cheaper to be able to have someone else do it than for me to buy all the hardware, install it, and it will be just as good, or if not better. So we went through the process. We've been checking in on quotes, and also like kind of check in on quotes just to get like prices to see how things are going, so that when I'm teaching, I can give them semi-accurate data of what's going on what we got given. So we did the same thing that you guys were talking about. We went to the Energy Trust website. We requested to get some quotes. We got 3 different quotes, and 2 of the quotes were local companies that did a really accurate job. One company wasn't a local company. They would have done a good job, but they just didn't have enough information on the incentives that I was looking for. So I was a little bit unique because I had a different incentive program than what you guys are showing, because I qualified for the Solar Within Reach program. And so we have 2 kids and my wife, and so we are a family of 4. If you make just under 100,000, I want to say it's like 99,460 maybe. Actually I pulled it up here a second ago. 99,934. So if you make that, you qualify for the Energy Trust Solar Within Reach program if you're in the PGE or Pacific Power neighborhood, and so you can get $9,000 from them, or $1.50 a watt. And so we got our quotes. Elemental Energy helped us. They're awesome, and we got my bid came in. I'm looking at my PDF over here, guys. So it came in at $21,230 for a 7.36 kilowatt system, and then they knocked off $9,000 from ETO. And then because I qualified for the ETO, well, actually, because I qualified for the Oregon Department of Energy, I qualified for the ETO, so that gave me an additional $5,000 off, and then the federal tax incentive. And so by the time everything came down, it was roughly about $5,000 out of pocket. So what we did is we were looking at, we just got it financed, and so the payment came out to $40 a month, and we saved roughly $120 a month. So I guess afterwards we're somewhere around 90, and it would have taken, the program that we signed up for was about 7 years. So it was they call it the 7 and 7 plan. We wanted to do that faster, so we just paid $500 a month because that's what we could afford, and then ended up getting it done in a year. And so now we're all paid off, and we haven't paid anything but the connection charge and the little bit we also pay the renewable energy credit, which is like $5 or $6. So we pay $12 a month. Every single month I have an electric car, and through the winter months we pay $12. Through the summer months we're overproducing and making, and it's $12. So any excess goes to help people who can't afford electricity prices. So that's something really nice, is that any of the extra goes to actually help people out in your neighborhood too. So it's been a super great process. It was easy. They came out and installed it. It took like 2 days, and they did a great job. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, what would you guys like to know?
Yeah, so I was just answering one of the questions in the Q&A, talking
Sure.
about the federal tax credit. Yeah, Bruce, I just typed an answer in for you, but I can read it out to everyone else in the chat. So Bruce asked, how long would the federal tax credit last? In December 2020, Congress approved an economic stimulus package to provide for the COVID-19 relief, and this package included a 2-year extension of the federal solar investment tax credit. So originally, it was supposed to drop from 26% in 2020 to 22% this year, and then it would have been phased out completely next year. But because of the extension, it's staying at 26% for 2 more years, and you're still able to take advantage of that. I think it's a great thing that they extended that. It really sets up the United States to keep moving forward in solar, because without these incentives, it's much harder for us to move forward as an industry. I'm going to look for other questions in the chat. Kay asked, "Is this available in Southern Oregon?" Kay, would you mind specifying what you're referring to in terms of being available in Southern Oregon? I can do my best to try and answer that question. Okay, I'm going to take a guess and see if is this available in Southern Oregon. Do you mean? Oh, we have another question. Okay. Lori asked, how does the electric vehicle play into your process, if at all? Did you add something to your home for this? Abe, do you have any experience with electrical cars, EVs?
Yeah. So I have a Leaf. So my Leaf uses a 240 30 amp plug, and I drive roughly. Well, actually, during COVID, I don't drive a lot. but usually I drive 60 to 80 miles a day, working back in groceries. And so that accounts for, one charge, one direction. So it was like an additional 20 to 25 kilowatt hours. So it actually like doubled the electricity usage that I use in my house. But I had been driving solar for probably about 5 years, so I already had that pre-built into my um, plans. But now that we have one car, we're actually, now that more cars are coming out on the market, we're looking at getting an electric van, so that we can replace the other van. And so this solar system actually will help with that. And I don't know if you guys are interested in this, but we are also the solar incentive program. Most of the incentives also qualify for storage. So once you get your solar system, you can either do it at the time or you can actually add that on later. So our next step is to actually do a solar system or a storage system, so that while we're overproducing during the summer months, we can use some of that electricity on top of the credit, so that we can use it for electrical charging or power outages or whatever else.
Yeah, incidentally, the next question is exactly about storage. Michael
Oh.
asked, my question concerns batteries. How useful are these as backup systems in case of power outages? The one concern I have is that the very limited capacity of batteries, around 10 kilowatts, versus our average daily use of 20 kilowatts. Um, in terms of my answer to that, I think that yes, batteries are a crucial part of solar's future. Really being able to extend the amount of time that you can hold the power makes solar a much more useful uh, resource, especially like you're saying in power outages. We're in Oregon, fall is coming up, and that means public safety power shutoffs. And I was reading an article from the PUC yesterday, and they're working with the utilities in coming up with a lot of preemptive measures to help prevent the spread of wildfires. And
Mhm.
one of them is setting up these public safety power shutoffs. And yeah, batteries are one thing that people really want to use in that situation. Abe, did you have anything more to add?
Yeah, those are all good points, and I would agree with all of them. There's not, I guess I would specify, there's not actually a limitation to 10 kilowatts on your batteries, though. I mean, you can have a megawatt at your house if you wanted to. It's just it's costly. So the power wall definitely comes in, or I'm sorry, the Tesla power wall. It comes in 10, 7 and 10 kilowatt chunks. So you can get those, and you can put those in parallel with each other so that you can stack them. So if you have 20 kilowatt hours of usage, you can use 20 hours of usage. Another way to get around it that they've been using with backup generators for a long time is you create an essential load power, come on, Abe, an essential load circuit breaker. Sub panel. Sorry, I don't know why my brain's cutting out today. So if you need your fridge and you need your lights and you need whatever is essential to you, maybe while you're in a power outage, you don't care if you have your TV on or if you have your electric car is charging, but you do care that your fridge is going to always keep your food at a good temperature. So you can create a separate sub panel that usually costs about, an electrician will run those loads for maybe 500 to a couple $1,000, depending on how many loads you're rewiring, and then you can use your battery system to do that. And usually most people only need about 25% of the energy that they're actually using, so that will help reduce it and extend out the amount of days that you can run on that solar the storage system you have.
Right. Thank you for that. Next question coming up. Anita asked, for the homeowner, is there any regular maintenance that is required for the system?
So I can take that, but I'll let if you want to take it. It's
I
up to
mean,
you.
for me, yeah, from the past solar stories that we've had on, and from my experiences of talking with solar owners, the one main type of maintenance that I've heard is that maybe when it snows, you got to get the snow off of there. once a year they go up there and hose them off to get them the dirt off. I have not heard of anything more intensive than that. Abe, would you like to follow that up?
No, that's pretty much it. There's I would say that the amount of dirt that you get on your panels depends on two factors. So the steep of your roof. So if you have a steeper roof, you won't get much dirt buildup. If you have my roof is at like at a what they would call a 312 and a 212. So they're very, very gentle inclines. And so that builds up more dirt because it's flatter, so it sits on the bottom of it. When it rains, it goes and it sits on the like little lip of the PV panel. So it's not a big deal. Like you said, I took a hose and I just washed it down. But the other factor is trees. So if your neighbor or you has a lot of trees and the wind blows and there's certain trees that give off a lot of pollen, that pollen can float in the air and then the rain will suck it down and it can coat your panel. So you just need to wash them. But the other thing is like, well, does it work if you don't wash them? Well, of course it does. And it doesn't degrade the panels too much. It's not like a little dusting is going to significantly impact it. It's just if you compact that over, a decade of not washing, then, you could probably get away with, I mean, honestly, most people get away with several decades without doing anything and they work just fine. But if you're worrying about every little microwatt, then yeah, every couple of years you'll want to get up there and wash them down.
Cool. Next question is from Chris. Chris says, I have 240-watt panels on my RV, and I want to know what it would take to grid tie it when it's parked at home and not out at our camp location. All the resources I've found so far are for permanent home installations. Just from my knowledge about it, I think there are certain requirements and like regulations surrounding the connection with an RV and a home, and that needs like the way that works has to be like inspected and evaluated. Other than that, I think there are some I'm trying to find the best way to word it. There's just a lot of requirements, and I think it's different with each utility. It really depends on like what your utility says about it. I think that would be a great place to start. Abe, did you have anything to follow up about that?
Yeah, so you're going to run into a little, I guess let's talk about the technical issue, the technical problem with it, right? So you're going to run into a little bit of an issue. So on the technical side, there's not, electricity is electricity. If you're making AC and you can pipe it into the house, then technically all you have to do is take an extension cord and plug it into one of your outlets and it will backfeed into your panel and supply it to everything else, right? So electrons move where electrons move, and that's not a problem. Where the problem is, though, is that if you backfeed into one of the circuits, that it can cause overloading in your panel, and so that can cause heated bus bars, and heated bus bars can cause fires, and so that is something bad that we don't want to do. So you need to make sure that where you're plugging in is actually in the proper location, usually at the bottom of the panel. And then on the much bigger side of it, that would work if you're in an off-grid system. Now, on an on-grid system, we actually have laws against that for anti-islanding laws to prevent line workers. So when they're working on the power lines, we want to make sure that we're not backfeeding into the grid without permission, because when they try to shut down the power to work on a power line, what can happen is that you're actually supplying power and you can electrocute them. So that's why our grid tie inverters actually have an anti-islanding function in them to turn them off. So if you're going to do that, you would need something called an automatic transfer switch, which you can and treat it like you would a generator. And then you'll have to talk to PGE or Pacific Power, whoever else.
Cool. Thank you so much for that. It's a great answer, very detailed. Much more than I get it done.
Sorry, I'm a teacher, so I go probably too detailed sometimes.
Oh, no, that's perfect for me. Next question is from Lori. Are there solar companies that provide for both panels and storage? And if so, are they still covered by incentives or credits? Yes. When you work with a Energy Trust Trade Ally, they can provide panels and storage and quote them together and quote it as a complete system. And yeah, all the same incentives and storage incentives all apply as long as they're Energy Trust Trade Allies and you're in the PGE Pacific Power territories, of course. Um, next, Abe, do you happen to have any pictures that you could show us?
You know, I might. You know, I probably should have. I should have taken some pictures. I'm actually over here at my buddy's house today, so otherwise I would just show you my webcam over the top of my roof here.
Yeah. Yeah. Feel free to take a few minutes to look for it. I can move on to another question and we can come back to that.
You bet. You bet.
The next question is, how susceptible are roof-mounted solar panels to earthquakes? And if my PGE connection is broken for any reason, example, an earthquake, will the panels still power my house? The answer to that would be, if your PGE connection is broken and you don't have storage, then no, your panels will not power your home. But if the battery storage is there, then yes, your home can keep producing, and during the day your batteries charge up. At night your home pulls from the batteries. And yeah, the batteries is what enables you to have that the term like energy resiliency against natural disasters like an earthquake, for example. Storage is the crucial component that makes that system click. Abe, do you want to answer anything about how susceptible panels are to earthquakes in general?
So first off, all of the systems are designed to be able to handle earthquakes, windstorms, even tsunamis in our area. So like the panels are designed to be able to handle 110-mile-an-hour winds. They're made for earthquakes, and that's just part of every single installation, because just like when you're building anything, you have to check the wetland, make sure that you're not in a flood zone. So there's a lot of planning that goes into the unexpected. And so the panels are designed to be able to handle earthquakes and natural disasters. What's kind of interesting is that even in Florida, during hurricane seasons, solar works there too. So they don't fly off the roof and do that, and they work great. So and there's a huge amount of solar that's in California where they get earthquakes very frequently.
Cool.
I'm looking for pictures.
Right. Next question is from Anita. I have a friend in Southern California that did not purchase his solar system. Instead, he has it on a long-term lease with a monthly payment, much of which is paid by what he's generating. Our lease is available in Oregon. I need to just do a quick Google search and make sure I'm not going to say any wrong information. But Abe, if you have any thoughts about leasing, please feel free to.
Yeah. So what they're talking about generally is called a power purchase agreement. And so the power purchase agreement, a company would come in and they would lease your roof, and then they would pay your utility bill and you would pay them. And so their goal usually, or at least it had been this way, I don't know, I'll be honest, I'm a little rusty on the financial side of this stuff because I'm usually always on the technical side. But usually how it works is that, let's say you pay $100 a month, they would say, oh, well, we'll pay you $50. We'll guarantee $50 a month. So we'll cut your bill in half. And then you pay us $50, and then they pay off the system. They take the tax credits and do all that. And just like in my example, my payment was only, $29. So they make $20, $30 per system. And then they just, stack that up to be able to make cash flow for their business. And that's how they pay for everything. And then usually there's some kind of buyout agreement, so that after 10, 15, 20 years, whatever the number is, then they allow you to purchase that system back from them. Or sometimes it's even a lease option to buy. So as you pay, a portion of that gets put into your principal payment for the system that's on your roof. As far as are they available? They used to be available all the time. It was the way that people got things done. And I haven't seen that as much now. A lot of people are doing like purchase systems because they're a lot less and you can get the financing for them. So I'm not sure. I haven't heard about PPAs as much recently, but I'm sure they're still out there.
Yeah, I think reaching out to reaching out to an installer and asking them about that is also a good step to see what they offer. But yeah, in terms of the monthly payment structure, yeah, that's a really popular option. Getting it financed and breaking it down monthly. And let's see, we have a few more questions. Um, could we provide some clarity on the issues that solar panels may create for firefighting?
I don't understand the question.
Um, am I, Michael? Let me know if I'm interpreting this correctly. Are you inferring that or referring to the fact like if there's a fire, going on in a neighborhood or something, are you saying the solar panels might like make it worse or make it hard to like you know use a fire truck on a house because there's panels on the roof? Just trying to understand it. Yeah, we can move on to the next question and come back to that. What are the most efficient types of panels today? And what's the difference between tiles and panels in terms of cost and efficiency? And Lori, I'm assuming by tiles you're referring to like the Tesla roof tiles, that kind of model that they've had compared to panels. Um, Abe, would you have any insight on that?
I do. So I would say probably SunPower's panels are probably some of the most efficient. We actually have, they're probably like around the 23% range. And then there actually are some that are about 28% efficient that that Panasonic has made that are pretty good. But efficiency is one of these tricky things because efficiency in solar doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. And I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, but efficiency when regards to solar, what that means is that for the amount of solar that hits your roof, that amount of energy gets translated someplace else, right? So the difference between a panel that is, let's say, 50% cheaper and it's 20%, is only going to save you about 6% roof space because it's all based on the amount of square feet that panel is taking. So to get the most efficient panel, you'll use smaller space and it's going to cost you twice to 3 times as much. But if you used a standard panel that's 18, well, not 18, that's pretty old, but let's say 21% efficient, they're going to be a third to half the price, and it'll most roofs can handle that just fine. So it is in a lot of things, efficiency for PV just is more of a cost issue than it is a space issue. On the other side of it, if you're looking at for like farms or something where you have a barn or you have a big roof, I would actually go for the cheapest panels because they have the same warranty, they have the same, they have all the same specs, and they may be selling them for really good prices because they're like 18% efficient. Well, nobody is going to buy 18% efficient these days, but they're still good panels. They can last 30. Well, they're in warranty for 20, 30 years, and you'll save yourself. It will probably be 25% of what the standard panel is. So I guess that's my answer.
Cool. Yeah, just a few more questions to wrap up. So, Michael, when he was referring to the firefighting issues with solar panels, he was referring to what if a fire happened in the home that solar panels are installed on.
Oh, okay. So if there's a fire that's on the home, there is a rapid shutdown device that is on the solar panels, and so what will happen is that when the power is either disengaged because a fire ends up melting it, or if the panel turns off, or if something, the circuit breaker turns off, or or what have you, the firefighters cut it. Within a second, it will drop to a very nominal voltage where they're able to then just use snips to be able to safely take them off. As far as the fire side, there's not a lot of plastic in the PV. A PV is essentially made of crystalline, so it's sand. So it's going to, there is some chemicals that are in the panel, so there'll be a little bit of off-gassing that happens. It'll be on your roof. It'll be pretty minimal. There is a plastic backing on it, so there's a little bit of off-gassing that way. But the firefighters are, they know how the rapid shutdown stuff works. So what they would do is if they saw your house was on fire, there's a service panel on the outside. There's a DC disconnect switch. They'll turn that switch off, and then that will drop the panels to the proper voltage that they need. They'll snip the wires, and then the panels are essentially dead, and they can remove them at that point, or fight around them. So just to be clear though, because the sun is still coming down on the PV panels, there is power still being generated, and it will be around 30 volts. So what they would do is they put these isolators on them to be able to make the ends. They'll just chop the ends off them so that they won't interfere with what they're working on.
Thank you so much for that. Last question. Are there any wildlife issues with panels? Do critters chew on wires / damage panels? Is the heat generated a contact danger for birds or squirrels, etc.?
So there's not a squirrel danger. There's not a heat issue. So we actually put them an inch. Well, we put a minimum of an inch, but usually 3 inches off the roof. And so the heat that's generated is actually less than the heat is generated from just your roof sitting there in the sun. So that's something good, right? Most of it is being absorbed or reflected. And so it's actually cooler in that area in general than standard asphalt or metal roofing. So you're not going to run into heat issues. But the animals do love chewing on wires, and there's nothing that we can do about it except for put net around it. So I put on something called a critter guard on my system. It's just essentially it's just a netting that is tasteful that goes around the outside of the panel, and then there's a shroud that goes over the top of it. And what that does is it's tacked into the roof, and then there's a shroud that goes over the top, so you can't see that it's just a net, and it prevents leaves and other stuff, organics going underneath, but then also prevents the squirrels and things from getting up onto there, because the wires in the winter months, the wires are producing power, right? And so they do produce just a teeny bit of heat that is from the wires, and the insulation must make really good bedding because they do like to strip them off. And so does it happen all the time? No, it doesn't. But if you have lots of trees in your area, and you may get squirrels mostly wanting to interfere with that. But the critter guard is pretty cheap, and it's an easy solution.
Awesome. Well, that looked like it was our last question. I'm going to stick around for just a few more seconds to see if anyone has any more questions. Feel free to pop them in the chat or the Q&A. But in that case, Abe, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's your insights have been valuable, and it's been great to hear about your solar story and all the different benefits that it's brought you. And thank you for everyone else for joining us today. The recording of this webinar is going to be sent out to you in an email afterwards, and it's also going to go up on our YouTube channel. And otherwise, if you have any further questions that come up, feel free to send me an email. I'm going to put my email in the chat right now, and you can also and I'll put another email for our program manager. He also is very knowledgeable, and yeah, feel free to reach out to us anytime with any questions, and we'll be happy to help you. And I'm not seeing any more questions roll in, so I'm going to call it there. Thank you everyone for coming, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much, guys. And I dropped my info in there too. Have a good day.
Awesome.